Good morning, and welcome to another inspiring episode of the Good Morning Minute podcast, where we start our day with purpose, passion, and a little bit of power. I'm your host, Angelina Mojica, and today's conversation is part of our special series in partnership with Empower Her Steps virtual conference, a movement rooted in helping women rise, heal, and walk boldly into the life that God has called them for. Our mission is simple but powerful, empowering life purpose, because we believe that when a woman has clarity in her calling, everything changes for her family, her community, and for the generations to come. So friends, grab yourself a cup of coffee, take a deep breath, and get ready to be uplifted as we dive into real stories, honest lessons, and bold steps towards purpose with our incredible guest today, and that is Raven. Hello, Raven. Thank you so much for being a part of the podcast.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. So Raven, I got to know you a little bit through your bio, but I know our listeners don't know you much. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners?
Sure. My name is Raven Rae, and I am a singer, songwriter, author, and professional butterfly. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, and I just spread love and light in everything that I do. And um, that intro really spoke to me because that is me all the way. Just submitting to God and letting God work in me through me and mission.
Beautiful. Well, I like to start our questions with a fun and just light icebreaker. So I'm going to ask you just a question. What is your go-to morning drink?
My go-to morning drink is pre-workout. I like to get that in with a little bit of beet juice before I work out, and that just gives me all the energy I need. I used to be a coffee girl, but not so much anymore.
Wow. And I am still an in-between because I have started to try and implement more of the mushroom coffee
Love
experience. And I have seen the difference between caffeine and then I gravitate to the decaf mushrooms. And it really does give you focus. I feel when I am on the mushroom and I don't get that big crash once the coffee wears off. And I try to maintain 1 cup a day. So I'm not a constant coffee drinker for sure. Well, let's go ahead and jump into the heart of our conversation. And I'm just going to ask you, Raven, what was the defining moment of pain or challenge in your life, and how did it impact you?
For me, that defining moment was realizing that I needed help with my mental health and that I needed to go to therapy and focus
Hmm.
on wellness and really, really focus on who I need to be, not just in that moment, but like who is future Raven and how do I connect with her so that I can become the best version of myself.
Hmm.
A lot of mental health challenges and a lot of sickness and things that I went through in my childhood and adolescence, and even as like a young adult, have kind of molded me and shaped me into who I am today.
Oh, wow. And so let's unpack that a little bit. So was there a particular moment during all of that that really stands out to you as being the most maybe, I don't know, rock bottom or a pivotal moment that just really said, I'm at this point of enough is enough.
Yeah, I've had a lot of those.
Yeah.
Recently, I actually call it my year in the valley. And it kind of goes back to that Bible verse of yea, though I walk through the valley and
Hmm.
I shall fear no evil. But I call it my year in the valley because it was literally a whole year plus, January 2024, up until about April of this year. I was sick. I was battling ulcerative colitis, and I had to sit down for a whole year, no performance
Wow.
shows, no connecting with my audience outside of my home. And it got so like heavy and dark because not only was I sick, but I couldn't do the things that I loved. I couldn't perform anymore at that time. So it was really weighing heavy on me. A
Hmm.
lot of the medications I was on, they had my mind kind of fuzzy, and it was very hard to discern what was for me at that time and what wasn't. And that still small voice, God just spoke to me, was like, rest. You need to rest. You need to focus on your wellness, get better. And then we can get back to the art. But even in the midst of that, I never stopped creating. I put this art wall up behind me. I painted something every day. And I just allowed my wellness to really be the guiding light for me.
Wow. And you mentioned being obedient in that season and really being able to open up and listen to what God was telling you and guiding you through. But it didn't stop the creative aspect of your talents because you have that art, beautiful, beautiful art wall behind you, which just because to me it says, just because this one thing isn't working out at this time doesn't mean that you can't channel that energy into something else that creates something very beautiful and on display right now before our very eyes. So I love that. What also helped you during this time to heal and grow through the season?
For me, it was definitely meditation. It was definitely prayer, journaling, and really writing. Music has always been that force for me that allows
Mm-hmm.
focus and, like you said, channel my energy into something that is going to be a light, not just for me, but for other people as well. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Connect with other people and what they're going through. So it was really those things. I think that's helped me get through the most.
Wonderful. And was there any point during this season of kind of just rest and, moment of pause is what I'm hearing, but was there any was there any connection to like community resources? Did you need help of a doctor or a coach or counselor, during this time? Because being someone that's in the spotlight and then having to step back and go, okay, I can't do that right now for however long it's going to take to get that healing process done. I mean, what was that shift like for you, and how did you seek help?
I think during this time, and I'm a huge advocate for therapy. I have a whole entire album about mental health and why you should seek therapy if you need it. In that season of my life, I was very adamant actually about not going to therapy,
Mhm.
about taking the time to sit with myself and figure out
Wow.
what's wrong. And I was very, very focused on, okay, I know the tools that I have when I need them. I know that if I need to go to therapy, I can. But
Mhm.
it was very much so just a time for me to literally sit with myself and figure out who I was being. Instead of talking through it, I had to
Mhm.
act.
I like that because you're demonstrating just in that, a different concept of like personality because there's people that have to process outwardly. I'm a vocal person, so like when I go, I have to talk it out even if I'm just talking out loud to myself. Like I have to process it out loud, and to have someone be a sounding board for me is very helpful. But what I'm hearing from your situation is that you really encompass this idea of rest in your healing journey, and you paused and you sat with yourself, and it wasn't detrimental to your growth at all, or this transformation of what the next step would look like for you, because you were able to like, what am I feeling right now, and how can I still use this for good? Because again, seeing that you did have another avenue for your creative mind to work through, so it was almost like that was kind of more the healing component there, is that you still had an outlet for sure to get through this season of your life. um so my next question to you is, when did you begin to sense that there was purpose on the other side of this pause?
Mm. I always knew that there was something that was going to come out of it. And that's the thing I always tell myself. I'm very spiritually aware. I'm very, very aware of when I go through something, it's not
Mhm.
it's for nothing. It's
Mm.
always a purpose behind it. There's always a reason. There's always a gem. There's something there that
Mhm.
could shift, transform, grow, or be transmuted through me. And
Mhm.
that's the reason why I go through things. Me personally, I know
Mhm.
that I'm a vessel for good. I know that I am to be used by God to spread love and light. And in order to do that, sometimes you have to go through the darkness. And so I became aware of that very, very early on, I think. And every experience has kind of just made me stronger and stronger and stronger to the point where it's like, okay, I'm going through something. I have to go through it. They say the only way out is through, and that's the truth.
Yeah, and you're really hitting on something there when you say walking through it, because a lot of us like to be avoidant, right? Or we want to disassociate from those situations or shut down or withdraw, but then you're never really addressing the barrier, right? You're it's almost like, let me give you a visual out there for those listening. Um, you're walking on a road and then there's like a big tree in the middle of the road and you're like, well, okay, I'm just gonna sit here in this moment and wallow about having to get to the other side of the road to continue my journey. But when you need to actually either take a tool or chip at it or, but you have to go through it in order to see the other side of the situation. And then you grow stronger from it, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and you discover so many things about yourself that would have never been discovered if you hadn't gone through a situation, for sure. So, Raven, let me ask you, how has your story shaped who you are today?
In all the ways. Well, where do I even begin? In all the ways, my story is not me, and I am not my story. We go through things, but we are not the things that we go through.
Mm,
I use each and every testament, everything that I've gone through to literally help somebody else. And so the way that I think it shaped me is literally just that. Like it's to help others. It's
mm.
not happening to me, it's happening for me.
Oh, and that's a huge mind shift right then in itself. Uh, when you look at the world in a lens of, oh my gosh, the world's against me or life is happening to me, you're working from a victim mindset because you are allowing everything externally to control your life when in actuality you're the one that controls that, whether that's through thought, whether that's through behaviors, habits, actions. I mean, you're the one in control of it. To see that things are happening for you is a huge eye opener because you're looking at the world from, what am I supposed to learn through this season? What are the opportunities for growth, right? And again, like I mentioned before, you're finding and discovering things about yourself, strengths that you had that you probably would have never noticed had you not gone through a situation, for sure. So that's a huge mindset. And it's a phrase that I use often too. It's like, okay, I'm in this a hard place. What am I supposed to be learning? What are you trying to teach, Lord? And then, kind of go from that perspective because it lightens up the stress of it all. And it just helps you refocus and reframe, the things that you're going through. So Raven, oh, go
Oh,
ahead. No,
sorry.
no, 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 go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say yes, because we can label ourselves like, hey, I'm Raven. I am a disabled artist who lost her mother at 5 years old. I had a scoliosis back surgery. I went through some sexual assault. I went through all of these things in my life. Like I had to take 14 pills just to function from age 14 to 17. We can label ourselves as all of these things,
Mm,
but the labels don't help you unless you're transceiving an energy. The
mm,
labels only help you connect with other people who have gone through the same things as you. And the labels are just that, a label. But once you take those labels off and you just say, I know what I'm here for, I know what I'm here to do, then
mhm.
everything just transforms.
And it just goes back to what you said earlier too, is like, I'm not I'm not defined by the things that I experience. I'm not defined by, a situation. Like I create the definition. I'm not defined by it. And I think that when we look at identity, and that's what you're talking about when you're talking about labels, when we look at identity, we often want to say, the first thing that comes to mind when you're introducing yourself, like, I'm a mother, I'm a daughter, I'm someone that recovered from liver surgery. And again, you're trying to make that your identity, but that isn't your identity. Um, your identity isn't discovered in the things that happen to you, your identity is something more of a spiritual, essence as far as what God has created you to be, right? And that's love,
Mhm.
the foundation of love, the fruits of the spirit, love, joy, forgiveness. Like that's the person I know I want to be in the world, is someone that gives out love and that influences through kindness and forgiveness and all the fruits of the spirit for sure. So I love that you mentioned that.
Yes, and you'll notice when you asked me to introduce myself, I didn't say, "Hi, I'm Raven. I've been through trauma." I said, "No, I'm Raven. I'm an artist, I'm a singer, I'm a songwriter, I'm an author, I'm a professional butterfly, and I know what I'm here to do." And I'll encourage your listeners today to start reframing your thoughts about how you see yourself, because you are exactly who you believe you are. It is done unto you as you believe. And these things are in the book. We follow them sometimes and sometimes we don't, but it's
Mhm.
all there.
Oh, such wisdom, such wisdom. And so kind of reaching out to the listeners there, Raven, if you had any advice to give someone who's currently maybe in that rock bottom, or maybe they're facing a situation that is bringing fear and doubt and worry into their emotions, what kind of advice would you give them in that in between?
I would say to keep fighting, keep pushing, keep going. But deeper than that, I would say tap into yourself and go back to who you were when you were a child. What did you love to do? Who were you? What
Mm-hmm.
were the things that lit you up? Go back to that place. I had to go back there last year. That's why this art is on the wall, because I'm
Mm-hmm.
the artist and I like to paint and draw when I was a kid. And that's
Yeah.
what made me happy when I was in that rock bottom place. I was on the floor in a fetal position, so sick that I couldn't move. But
Mm-hmm.
painting and putting the art on the wall was something that brought me joy. So tap into those things that bring you joy, that bring you peace. If it's meditation, if it's prayer, if it's going for a walk, center yourself, be with yourself, and get back to who you are, not what
Mm-hmm.
someone else said.
Oh, such good advice. Really, just taking from what you've experienced, get back connected to the root of you, right? Before you can step forward and dealing with the thing that you're going through. So, Raven, what does living with purpose look like for you now?
Living with purpose means that I am the tree, I am the roots, and God is the sun, and I just have to blossom and keep listening and keep going.
Mm, so beautiful. And before we start kind of moving towards the end of our conversation, Raven, I'd like to ask you a question of legacy and impact. If today were your last day, what would you want to be remembered for?
I think about this every day, and now I'm speechless. I would want to be remembered for light, just being a light, shining.
Wonderful. And I understand that because as I went through my own journey, um, when I hit rock bottom and I remember crying out to God, and that ugly cry that you do sometimes where you're just a whole mess, um, crying out and going, why, Lord, why me? Why this? Why can't I get anything different? Um, speaking from the victim mentality of life is happening, against me and these things. But when the Lord spoke to my heart and spoke to me, he said, so that you can be the light in someone else's darkness. And I think that's what we're all supposed to do is go ahead, is heal, right? Heal and get through the things that we need to get through so that when we do encounter the next person that's going through something similar, first of all, you can relate to that person through empathy, right? And you can sit there and go, I've been there, sister. I've been there, brother. And it's okay because we can get through it. And if you need someone, again, talking about community, if you need someone to be there for you, then here I am. But there's definitely hope in the journey for sure. And that's what that light is and represents is the hope.
Just
Absolutely. Well, Raven, my final question to you, as we get ready to close our conversation, is if you could leave any truth or maybe a bit of encouragement to someone listening today who's still trying to figure out their life purpose, what would it be?
Mm. I would say pour into yourself and let the answers come. And once again, tap back into your inner child. Your inner child will literally tell you who you are. Like we had these kitchen sets and we had these doctor, play sets
Hmm.
and we were playing doctor and nurse and chef and all these things. And some it really resonated with some people and they became those things.
Mm.
We're making pictures and singing and being entrepreneurs, lemonade stands. Like I was one of them. And these things are like unfolding as you're a child, and we think that they're childish things, but really they're telling us who we are. So tap
Mm.
back into that spirit, that essence, and it'll literally just sprinkle the breadcrumbs and you just have to follow them.
Wonderful. Well, Raven, let's say a listener was out there listening to your story or just kind of understanding that you're a singer, a songwriter, all of these great things, and they wanted to learn more about you or get in contact with you. How can they do so?
Yeah, so I make high vibrational music and books, and you can follow me on Instagram at Raven Rae Official.
Wonderful. Well, Raven, I want to thank you for sharing your heart, your story, and your light with us today. It's conversations like this that remind us that purpose isn't about perfection, it's about showing up, growing it through the things that we go through, and trusting that every step matters. So, here at the Good Morning Minute and through the Empower Her Steps movement, we believe every woman has a calling worth discovering and a voice worth using. So, friends, wherever you are today, remember your purpose is powerful and you're not walking alone. Until next time, keep rising, keep trusting, and keep walking boldly into the life God has called for you to do so. Until then, I'm Angelina Mojica, your life coach, sending you much love, much peace, many blessings.